Eric, can you identify all of the people that are on the screen? I mean, if it only says caller, do we know who that is?
No, I don't know who caller 1 is the phone.
Oh, it's this thing, okay.
All right, so it is 6:03, and this evening we are going to have the invocation remotely. So Andrew is a young entrepreneur, business owner, so he has offered to give the invocation. Andrew.
Hi, welcome everybody. I'm going to be giving the invocation tonight, so thank you. I'm going to start. Yeah, I've never done this before, so. So we just want to say thank you for this amazing day that we are able to just come together and just run the city. And I just want to say thank you for each and every person that is a part of the city that makes these decisions and really does an amazing job with what they are called to do. So we just want to say thank you for each and every member that is a part of the city, and even the people that are outside of the city that helps to make the decisions. We just ask for wisdom. We just ask for just lots of insight to be able to run the city efficiently and to be able to run the city with just lots of, I had to say lots of wisdom. We just speak forth continued growth in Freeport. We just ask for the growth just to get deeper and stronger. And Lord, we just ask for the decisions that are going to be made tonight, that they will be made with just unity in mind, that everyone's going to be like, let's figure this thing out together and let's work this thing out together. And I got one scripture verse to share with you guys. And this is in 1 Corinthians, and it is in the chapter of 16. Remember to stay alert and hold firmly to all that you believe. Be mighty and full of courage. Let love and kindness be the motivation behind all that you do. And that's kind of what I have.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We appreciate it. So now that it is 6:04, we will officially call this regular council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Present in person, Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Ross
Here.
and Parker.
Here.
Present via teleconference, Alderperson Borneman,
Here.
McClanathan,
He said here, but you couldn't hear him.
Busker will be absent this evening, Brashaw,
Here.
Mysick,
Here.
and Berberay.
Present.
Staff present in person, Manager Bucas,
Present.
IT is always present in person, and Clerk Anderson. Summers, Chief Summers is here. Who do we have present via teleconference? Director Richter?
Present.
Hines?
Present.
Boyer is absent, Manager Bucas, is that correct? Or
That's correct. He's on vacation.
do we have Chief Liggett?
Present, ma'am.
Director Huffines?
Present.
And in person then is our legal counsel, Attorney Zito? Have I missed anyone remotely? I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. And if you could join us for standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Alderman McClanathan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1 is the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Mysick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of November 16th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
McClanathan,
Did you call McClanathan?
I did.
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Mysick,
Aye.
Berbere,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, next is item number 3, which is public comments, and there are none signed in. So we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda considered to be routine in nature and acted as one motion unless there's a member of the council that would like to have something discussed separately. Is there anything, council? Seeing none, the consent agenda consists of approving and placing on file the boards and commission minutes from the Foreign Fire Insurance Board from October 8th, Planning Commission from November 12th, and Building Commission from November 18th, 2020. Also is the Greater Freeport Partnership Monthly Report dated December 16th, 2020. The approval of the finance bills payable in the total of $1,719,696.47, and payroll for pay period ending December 5th, 2020, in the total of $532,056.89. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Alderman Berbere, seconded by Alderman Parker. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Mysick,
Aye.
Berbere,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is item number 5, which is the second reading of ordinance 2020-57. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 242 Fire Department and Chapter 1640 Bureau of Fire Prevention of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Freeport to reorganize the fire department regarding a fire marshal.
Thank you. Chief Liggett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I presented this at the September call. We talked about it at a staff meeting, or excuse me, the last council meeting for its first reading. I gave a report. I was just asked if the council has any further questions that I can answer. If they would, I'd entertain or ask for their approval.
Any questions, council?
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Chief Liggett, do you currently have someone within your department with the qualifications required for this position?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing, no further comments or discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the passage of ordinance 2020-57?
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Mysick,
Aye.
Berbere,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the second reading of ordinance 2020-77. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Ordinance approving vacation of Cable Street.
Thank you. Director Hines?
Thank you. So I don't have a whole lot of information to add. We talked about this at the last council meeting, and we just had a public hearing on it. We didn't have any public comments from outside of Alderman McClanathan's question. But I do want to clarify something too. I misspoke when I said that the QCs will take ownership of the 684 feet of land. They'll take ownership of, I think it's about 100 feet of land that goes right along with their property line. And it'll be 30 feet south of their original property line. And then the city will maintain that the rest of that northern portion, that's about 584 feet. So I just wanted to clarify that. But I can take any additional questions at this point.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. That makes a lot of sense. And I guess just for a question, if there are other adjoining landowners on that stretch, would we entertain down the road any proposals from them along similar lines, or is this something we anticipate we're just going to hold on to for this point?
Yeah, I think that we would, consider that down the line. If the neighboring property was interested in doing that too, then we could definitely look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion, council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the passage of ordinance 2020-77?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-0.
Item number 7 is the first reading of ordinance 2020-79. Could you please read this?
Ordinance providing a refund of certain liquor license fees in light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. At the December 14th Committee of the Whole meeting, the council approved to move forward the placement of an ordinance that would forgive 7 months of liquor license fees paid by the Class R and Class A establishments. This motion did not allow for video gaming parlors, gas stations, or convenience stores to qualify unless they obtain at least 50% of their income from inside dining. All establishments had to be in good standing with the city. Of the 28 Class R restaurant licenses, 25 of them met this indoor dining criteria. At least 7 of the 25 establishments are delinquent in their food and beverage taxes. Of the Class 9A tavern licenses, 4 met the indoor dining criteria. None are delinquent in their food and beverage taxes. If the city approves the 7-month rebate, each Class R and Class A qualifying license would receive a rebate of $466.12. I also like to bring up that because of the way we classify liquor license holders and grandfathering, I believe the city council left out 2 establishments that would have qualified if they had a Class R license. One is the Ikaban Japanese Grill and Sushi, and the second one is Pizza Hut. Both of them have a Class W license, which is a beer and wine license. And both establishments are restaurants, and the rebate on the 2 establishments would be $346.58. The lost revenue to the city to rebate the 25R restaurant fees for the 7 months total about $12,150. For the 4 Class A tavern licenses, the lost revenue would be $1,900, and the Class W beer and wine holders the city would lose about $730. I'm asking tonight that council suspend the rules and have first and second reading.
Discussion?
Madam Mayor.
Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. Just two suggested revisions that I would make in the form of an amendment, but first I want to mention it before making the said amendment. And it pertains to the first 2 sentences of Section 2. Excuse me for just a minute. Sorry about that. Okay, so on Section 2, I know we went back and forth in regards to 7 months, and we talked about the 2 months forgiven, things of that nature. It was my understanding coming out of the last meeting that we recognized that when we passed the relief in the spring, we were giving 2 months relief. Those 2 months were applied to the next year's bill. However, I don't think we were looking to prorate it off of that. So, but however, to alleviate any of that confusion, what my first amendment that I will be proposing in just a minute will be just to simply make it the city shall refund $585 of the license fee paid by holders of a Class A or Class R liquor license for the 2020-2021 liquor license year. That makes it within less than $2 of the equivalent of what 7 months would be off of a full non-prorated year on there. And again, I felt like we were kind of overcomplicating it sometimes at times, so I was just putting out a simple number that is the equivalent of that. The second amendment that I will be making in a moment pertains to sentence 2. Sentence 2, rightfully, there's some language added in regards to the administration about individuals not being delinquent on any payments of any city fees or taxes. I appreciate that. I understand that. However, I'm also not looking to kind of play gotcha with somebody in regards to this refund. So the second amendment that I would be proposing would be amending sentence 2 to reflect that any license holder who is delinquent in any applicable city fees and or taxes shall be ineligible for this refund unless within 90 days of the passage of this ordinance they become current with all applicable city fees or taxes. That gives a clean break cutoff date, and then again, it lets individuals know when they are or are not ineligible for this. Before making that motion, I would defer to my colleagues just to see if there's any significant pushback on either one of those, and then see how we proceed accordingly. Thanks for the opportunity to comment prior to doing that, and I hope that was succinct enough.
I just have a question for you, Alderman McClanathan. Did you also want to include the Class W?
I was not anticipating making that motion, but that's just me. Somebody else can make that motion if they want.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, I just have, in response to McClanathan's motion there, or proposals, I agree that when we were talking about it last, it was more of a, my understanding was that the $1,000 was still the cost for the liquor license last year. The city just covered the cost of 2 months payment. So that's, the point is, I agree that the 7-month refund should equate to what 7 months of a year where the license was fully paid without that proration. So I appreciate, I agree with that. And then when it comes to the delinquent food and beverage liquor license holders, I again agree that McClanathan's plan makes a lot of sense. He was able to articulate it better than I'm trying to do right now, but I think the people who are delinquent, businesses who are delinquent in their food and beverage tax might give them incentive to come current if they know they're going to be able to get this liquor license refund as well. So hopefully that's a hidden advantage of that plan. But overall, I agree and will second the motion when it comes to B. As for the W licenses, that was just something I didn't contemplate. Also, a question, is the W license a dine-in service license, or is
Yes,
it
they are.
for sale only?
No, it's actually it's Pizza Hut and Ichiban, so they're both dine-in.
So follow-up to that is, I'm just curious why, is it because they only have beer and not alcohol, or why is their license?
Yeah, a Class
is that
W
license more affordable?
entails wine and beer. There's no hard alcohol in that license.
Okay. Well, that's all I had.
Madam Mayor?
Was that Burberry?
Yep. I am concurring with both the aldermen who have just spoken. I think it's trying to make the program, the opportunity as transparent as possible. My question for Alderman McClanathan or anybody is, becoming current within a certain period of time, is 90 days a good period of time? Is it excessive? Is it short? I have no idea. I'm just curious. What's been our experience previously? Or is it just arbitrary? Tried to set a standard that wasn't making it too far down the road, but also wasn't something that said, within a week or two you gotta figure out where you're at. But honestly, other than that, I mean, it's kind of a unique relief, so we don't have a lot of precedent really to go back on as to what's the appropriate timeline for a public policy question, I guess, at the end of the day. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Manager Bucus?
just for council's information, anytime a food and beverage holder falls behind in their payments, usually definitely after 3 months, we send them a letter, and we send them a letter every month until they get caught up, just for your information.
Alderman Boardman, were you going to say something? I see your lights on first. I'll defer to you first. If you were.
I didn't catch the end of the city manager's statement there.
What I stated was that when it comes to food and beverage taxes, after 2 months, we usually send, if not 3 months, we send a letter to the delinquent food and beverage person, and we continue to do so every month until they come up and are compliant with their requirements.
Mayor?
Alderman Ross?
Okay, Manager Bucus, when you send them that letter, do you give them a deadline that they have to meet or else suspend the license?
Unfortunately, we can't suspend their liquor license, but I have filed objections with the Liquor Commission when they got so really far behind. And the Liquor Commission has, I think twice, started to set up a hearing to revoke or suspend their license. And usually by that time, they come in and pay. But it's not until we threaten their liquor license that they come in and pay. And those that don't have liquor licenses, that are just food and beverage places, it's a little bit tougher to get them sometimes to come in, but we eventually get them in.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Borneman?
All right, this is Alderperson Mysek.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alderman Mysek.
No problem. I had a question as well. As we were considering the different license holders, I just noticed there were 2 Class W licenses, and do we have any indication of hardship to those license holders?
Well, I think they've been affected just like all the other ones.
Okay, a follow-up, Madam Mayor?
Sure.
So my question is really to best understand if they have experienced similar hardship, would be at least a consideration for a dollar amount that is specific to the Class W licenses. This is just a point to consider. It's not that we must hold the line on that. I just feel that if I don't want to have to come back to this subject at a later time and make yet another ordinance effective. So if it is the pleasure of the council to include the Class W, I would support that.
Yeah, and their amounts will be slightly different because their annual rate is a little less because they're only allowed the beer and wine.
Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. I guess just to get it started, I would make a motion to amend sentence 1 from section 2 to read, to strike it in its entirety and replace it with, the city shall refund $585 of the license fee paid by the holders of a Class A or Class R liquor license for the 2020/2021 liquor license year, period. I would second that.
Okay, Attorney Zito suggested that we just do it one at a time. So we have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan. Was that second Berberet?
Yes.
To amend that section to say $585 to the A and R licenses. Is there any other discussion concerning that particular piece of the amendment? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the First Amendment?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Meissick,
Aye.
Berbere,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The First Amendment passes 7-0.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan.
I would make a motion that Section 2, Sentence 2, be stricken in its entirety and replaced with the following. Any license holder who is delinquent in any applicable city fees and/or taxes shall be ineligible for this refund unless, comma, within 90 days of passage of this ordinance, comma, they become current with all applicable city fees and/or taxes, and/or taxes, period.
And
I'll
I'll
second that.
second that.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Borneman, as so stated. Any further discussion concerning that particular amendment? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Meissick,
Aye.
Berbere,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The Second Amendment passes 7-0 as well.
Council, what's your pleasure concerning the Class W?
Madam Mayor, I have a question for the city manager.
Yes, Alderman Borneman.
Thank you. Mr. Bukis, on the W licenses, I felt like there were more Ws at the last list. Am I incorrect about that previous chart you gave us?
Yes, there were 3 W licenses, but only 2 of them met the criteria that you're currently looking at.
I think one of them was a gas station or a
It's a video game.
video gaming, yeah.
Yeah, video gaming, a parlor.
Okay. Follow-up, Mayor.
Yes.
Director or Manager Bukis, what is the cost for the W license?
$750 a year.
And you're positive that there'd only be 2 that would qualify?
I would have to rely on my information I received from my staff, and I believe my staff to be correct in their numbers that they're giving me.
Okay. What would be the 7, let's do the math here.
12 divided by 750.
I would, I don't know, after discussing this, sorry to just kind of ramble on the floor, but I just wanted to continue my thoughts here. After discussing it and seeing, since there's 2 W licenses, I'm hesitant and to include a business like Pizza Hut because I know they were so capable to adjust to delivery and even the drive-through window, kind of at the drop of a hat, just being a corporation like that. But at the same time, they were under the stress of everything as well. And then Ichiban, I know, is also obviously was a business that was purpose was frustrated during this thing of their liquor license. So what I'm doing here is making a motion to add that the W licenses are included as well, considering I think what the total would be. I just had it, but it's 400 and somebody should check my math, but about $440.
Yeah, it's actually 437.
Okay.
Right. And when you look at it, I mean, this is a hit to the city no matter what, like, since we're taking this step, obviously we could do nothing. but we're taking this step, and I would just feel that the hit to the city, our budget is somewhere over $50 million. So obviously, the city's going to take a hit for it, but it's coming from license fee funds that were already paid to us by these businesses. My point is, I think you got to weigh the hit to the city financially versus the bottom line for a small business who would receive extra cash with which they can use to kind of continue this business, continue their investment that they've made in this town. And it's, I feel like it'd be unfair to not include the W's. So I'm going to make a motion to include the W's at the refund amount would be, I think, $437.50, or we could just make an even number like $440. And that would be the end of that rant there. I hope you followed that.
Attorney Zito would like you to determine which one you want.
Me too.
Could you clarify that?
Do you want it to be 437 or 440?
Oh, I think we rounded up for the other ones, so 440.
And would you like that motion to be just like the other two, where if they're not in good standing, they have 90 days?
Absolutely, yeah. I would. I'm just trying to find a good spot for it to suggest in here, but yeah, that identical other than the amount returned. So yeah, just to add or Class R or Class W license holder in the first sentence. There.
Understood. I think what I would do is just, after the first sentence, I would insert a new second sentence that reads exactly the same as the first sentence, but deals with the Class W license for a refund of $440. Then the remaining paragraph would remain the same, subject to the other amendments that were discussed earlier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we'll go with the motion that Alderman Borneman said. Was there a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
We have a second made by Alderman Ross. Is there any further discussion on this particular amendment?
Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
thank you. I do share Alderman Borneman's concern in regards to, I think Pizza Hut's kind of like the outlier compared to all the rest of these, but we've made a concerted effort to provide targeted relief to those we think most impacted by it. And I certainly wouldn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater just over one entity on it. So, and along those same lines, I think Ichiban is probably significantly more similarly situated to the other 28 or 29 entities that we're providing relief to. So, when you only have two there, I think it strikes a proper balance, and I appreciate the amendment.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on this particular amendment?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Mysick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The third amendment passes 7-0.
Okay, so now before you is still on first reading is ordinance 2020-79 with 3 amendments. What's the pleasure, council?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
thank you. I'd make a motion to move ordinance 2020-79 forward.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Ross to move this ordinance as amended forward.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
thank you. I'd make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Ross for the suspension of the rules. Suspension of the rules is non-debatable and must pass by a 2/3 majority. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the suspension of the rules only?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Mysick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The suspension passes 7-0.
Okay, so council, before you is the final reading, the second reading for this ordinance 2020-79. Is there any other discussion before we take the roll? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
McClanathan,
Aye.
Ross,
Aye.
Barker,
Aye.
Brashaw,
Aye.
Meissick,
Aye.
Berberet,
Aye.
and Borneman.
Aye.
The motion passes and the ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you, council. That'll be a nice little Christmas present for some of our struggling establishments. So let's move on to item number 8, which is the first reading of ordinance 2020-80. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending Chapter 1062, City Cemetery, Section 1062.11, fees of the codified ordinances.
Thank you. Manager Bucus?
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council last authorized burial fee adjustments between 10 and 15 years ago, depending on the category we're looking at. The Illinois Department of Human Services recently raised the maximum amount that is eligible for reimbursement for burial fees for funeral and burial expenses of a deceased dependent of the Department of Human and Service recipients. Our proposed fees are still somewhat lower than some of the other city cemeteries in the area, and staff's request our recommendation that council approve ordinance number 2020-80, amending the cemetery fees effective January 1st, 2021.
Council?
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Manager Bucus, I was looking over these fees. Did you happen to choose them by looking at what other communities charged? I mean, how did you come up with the proposed amounts that are stated here before us?
Let me pull out the folder. A couple of the cemeteries that we looked at, one was Chapel Hill for grave opening fees. They charge $1,150, and we're looking at $650. And Oak Hill charges $995. So we're still under what the private sector is charging. As far as grave sales, we're proposing $686, which is the maximum fee we can receive through reimbursement from the Illinois Department of Human Services. Chapel Hill's fees are between $285 to $950. It's our understanding that the lower end lots are very limited, and Oak Hill's lots start at $695 and go up to $1,000, so depending on location. So there again, we're basically lower than the other two cemeteries in town.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw?
can I follow up, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Manager Bucus, I wasn't disparaging the amount that you came up with. I actually thought the amounts that you proposed were quite low compared to what I know some of the fees are in other cities. I realize that Freeport has a different market than some of the larger cities. I was just hoping to not have to revisit this in a year or two. I see that the grave opening fees listed, the previous amount was from the year 2004 in the amount of $500. Am I supposed to understand that we have not raised the fee since 2004 to cover these costs?
That is correct.
Mayor,
Yes.
that is also when the Department of Human Services last raised their reimbursable fee, was 2004 also.
Thank you for that clarity.
Yes, thank you for that. I'm not trying to discourage your proposed amount, sir. I just wanted to question those as I know that they seem quite low to me. Thank you.
They're low to me too.
What's your pleasure, council?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. I'd make a motion to move ordinance 2020-80 forward.
I will second that.
I have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Brashaw to move ordinance 2020-80 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 9 is first reading of ordinance 2020-81. Madam Clerk, would you please read this?
A supplemental appropriation ordinance of the City of Freeport for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2020 and ending December 31, 2020.
Thank you. Manager Bucus?
Thank you, Your Honor. At the end of each fiscal year, the City Council amends the appropriation ordinance to take into account any additional revenues or expenses or any decrease in revenues or expenses. During the middle of this year, back in July, we amended the appropriations the first time based on what we were seeing with the COVID virus affecting some of our revenues. There again, we put together the last supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 2020, and the state revenues continue to come in close to the 2019 levels, which we were kind of surprised, but we have made some adjustments in those line items. We also received a CURES grant in the amount of a little over $1 million, which helped boost our revenues, and both the inflow of revenue and outflow of expenses have been included in the pension obligation bonds. If you recall, that was almost a $55 million infusion into the budget as well. One significant transfer that we're looking at actually is occurring in the sewer fund, and we're looking at transferring $6 million from the water fund into the sewer fund. The sewer fund has always been in the hole for a number of years, and our auditors have suggested or requested that we look at transferring money from the water fund into the sewer fund so that they balance out. Currently, the water fund has about $8 million in their accounts, so transferring the money at this time would still leave the $2 million, just that the sewer fund would now have a zero balance, and the water fund would have a $2 million balance. This is a joint checking account, so it really hasn't caused a problem. But on the books, when we're looking at the different budgets and revenue sources and that, the sewer fund does take a hit. If you recall, the auditors also suggest we may want to, in order to alleviate this problem, combine the water and sewer funds into one utility fund, which staff would like to do, and council basically has given us the nod to try it. But through the whole conversion process with our software this year, it was just too much to try to do at this time, so in fiscal year 2022, we'll be looking at combining those two funds into one fund. And staff's recommendation that council not only approve the amended or supplemental appropriation at this time, but also suspend the rules and have second reading as well.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to move this forward.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross, to move ordinance 2020-80 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Alderman McClanathan?
Thank you. Manager Bucus, thank you for the explanation regarding the timeline where we can expect a combination of those funds. And as you indicated and have indicated in the past, this has been an issue that's been brought to our attention multiple times. And I can't remember all the reasons for why we haven't taken that step. I know software was part of it, but I just want to clarify, there aren't any either accounting or legal issues that would interfere with our ability to make this transfer at this time. And the only reason we're not doing the consolidation of the fund is you want to get software a little under your belt before you make those changes. Is that all accurate, or is there more to it than that?
No, the software conversion took a lot of time, and we started with this conversion back in February, March, and we just went online at the end of November and trying to train everybody on the new software, and then be incorporating the new budget was just a little bit too much. Our water software didn't go online till about 2 weeks ago, and we're still doing training there. So The finance department, was really stretched thin for the last few months trying to get everything done. So we held off trying to combine the two at this time, and we'll do it in 2022's budget, fiscal year.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
but just to be clear, there's nothing from a legal or accounting standpoint holding us back saying you can't do this transfer, correct?
That is correct, and there's nothing really says we have to combine the two funds either, but that was just something that the auditors recommended.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Is there a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman McClanathan for the suspension of the rules. Again, suspension of the rules is non-debatable and must pass by a two-thirds majority. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll on the suspension only?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The suspension passes 7-0.
Thank you. So now before you, Council, is the final reading passage for the passage of Ordinance 2020-81. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The ordinance passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 10 is the first reading of Ordinance 2020-82. Could you please read this?
Ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Freeport, Chapter 1442, Permits and Fees, Sections 1442.01, 1442.11, and adding 1442.25.
Thank you. Director Hines.
Thank you. So this ordinance for the text amendment to the permits and fees section is because we recognized a few things that need to be updated. So our codified ordinances currently exempt homeowners and contractors from getting permits for certain minor repairs. And you can see that written out in the ordinance. I think it's under $10,000, and if it's not including things like electrical or plumbing. But structures that were previously identified as dangerous and unsafe, so those that are condemned, they still fall under this permit exemption. And this leaves staff with limited authority in inspecting repairs made to condemned properties. So the proposed changes include an addition to this chapter, which would require a permit application for any type of work that's being done to a structure that has been declared dangerous and unsafe. This would require a property owner or contractor to get a permit when they're completing any type of work on a condemned property, so any of the minor work that's typically exempt, if it is dangerous and unsafe, would require a permit. And then clarifications also added to are needed for the section 1442.11, and the current title is just inaccurate. It doesn't reflect the two items that are in this section. So neither of the provisions in that section are exempt from fees. So they're actually exempt from certain permit requirements. So for emergency repairs, they're temporarily exempt from getting a permit, but they still do have to come in, get a permit, pay the fees. And then for minor repairs, they're the under $10,000, not including plumbing or electrical work. They're exempt from a permit altogether. So we just changed that and made it more clear in the code. The building commission reviewed this last week on December 16th, and they unanimously voted to recommend approval. And staff recommends approval and moving this forward to the next council meeting. I can take any questions on this now.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I appreciate where you're coming from in regards to the dangerous and unsafe building. You're trying to make sure you close a loophole potentially there. However, as written, for those dangerous and unsafe buildings, any work on it, if someone's still doing work under 10,000 that doesn't involve those areas, as written, this would require, not only getting a permit, but also a fee associated with the permit. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So with, the permit fees, any building permit's 1% of the cost of the project. So if it's very minor repairs, then it would be a minor fee. We do have the authority, if it's something small enough where, we think that we could waive the fee on whatever the project is, then we could look at that.
Okay, follow up, Madam Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you. Then from my perspective, I remember very vividly the debate behind this 10,000 threshold and minor repair, and there was a strong impetus for encouraging individuals to go ahead and just take care of those minor repairs that were 10,000 or under. I don't want to lose that impetus, so I would be agreeable with the ordinance. However, I'd like to see a provision that allows for the waiver of the fee if it meets those thresholds that are already in that 10,000 or not, because I think that keeps us with the spirit of what we were trying to intend. It gives you guys the checks and balances of having the eyes on a building when it's condemned or previously been deemed unsafe, but it also keeps what we were trying to do by exempting it out from the permit, particularly the fee portion too, in those earlier aspects. So if we could have something revised along those lines, I'd be in favor of it. Otherwise, I'm not sure where I'd be at this point.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman?
thank you. Can you explain this to me in a sense that if I understand this right, to do any type of repair on a condemned building, no matter the amount, would require a permit under this?
Yes, that's correct. If they're making any, if they're doing any type of work at all, then it would require permits for like flooring or any other type of work. And the idea behind that is that these buildings they're deemed dangerous and unsafe for a reason. If someone starts doing minor work, but they're getting into, seeing major problems, then we want to make sure that we can go in and do inspections and make sure that there aren't things that are being covered up or things like that. We have run into issues with people doing work on condemned properties where they'll start doing minor work. We can't require them to get a permit, and then they stop doing it and they leave it in even greater disrepair. The hope is that people will come in and actually get the permit, do the work, and knowing that they have that in.
Okay. And follow-up question.
Sure.
I see this section, I'm just clarifying, this only applies to what you're adding applies to condemned housing, right? Not like a residential home.
Yes, that's correct. So if the house is safe and livable, then they're still exempt from getting a permit when they're doing just making minor repairs to their home.
Okay. Thanks.
Could you repeat that last part, Director?
Yeah, and I can clarify too. So I'll just reiterate that dangerous and unsafe buildings, they will be based on these changes, be required to get a permit for any work that's being done. If your house is, if it's in livable condition, your house is not condemned, if you're just in a residential property, then you will still be exempt from getting a permit when you're making minor repairs to your home.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
If a building has been deemed condemned, doesn't the city have the ability to access it at any time? Or is that not right?
I I believe so, but, I don't wanna misspeak on that.
Right.
We have to follow, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, may I speak? We have to follow, rules of the law, and just because the property is condemned doesn't necessarily mean we have the right to go inside that building. We can only do an exterior inspections. So I'm not sure, Alderman Boardman, what your question was.
Oh, that's what I was getting at. I didn't know if once the building became condemned, people kind of lose their expectation of privacy, and the city or government could then enter based on them, a court ruling that this is after an administrative hearing, the building is determined to be unsafe and condemned. That's what that properties we're talking about.
Well, generally, Madam Mayor, generally, the building inspector is the one that condemns the building after an inspection. And generally, the property owner is with him. So the property owner is aware of the condition of the building and why we're condemning it. Now, if a tree falls on the house and we can't get into it to inspect it, then we may condemn it because of the largeness of the tree and the damage that's done to the exterior of the building. But generally, we cannot go into people's livable residences without their permission, either the tenant's permission or the property owner's permission.
Okay. Yeah, that was not really relevant to what, I was just kind of curious about it. I still get the purpose for the request of this ordinance.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
I just want to run through a scenario then with the director. All right, so we have a property that's been designated of this nature. And an individual comes in and says, I'm going to be doing some work on the property. At that point, regardless of the scope and things of that nature, you're going to be requiring a permit with a fee. Is that correct?
That is correct. Features are, that you recommend.
I'm sorry, I only caught half of that. Could you repeat that, please?
That's correct. So if if a contractor or a homeowner, they say that they want to make changes to their property, then they would have to, get the permit, pay the fees for the permit.
What's the public policy behind waiving the fee, or what's the public policy against waiving the fee if it still is under that $10,000 threshold?
I'm not against it necessarily. So if that's what the council would want to, if that's how you would want to move forward with and if you'd make any revisions to it in that way, then that would be reasonable.
I guess I didn't word that very well. I apologize. But was there any discussion in regards to these two paragraphs as they worked in conjunction with each other when it was in front of the commission?
No, there was not.
Okay. Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
again, I support the idea that once you've reached a certain stage, you're going to want to have your eyes on it. I guess I would like to see in a future version of this some options for waiving the fee if it, not the permit, but waiving the fee if it meets that same threshold of dollar amounts in regards to proposed repairs. Would we be able to see that if we move this forward on to the second reading next time?
Is there a second to that?
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion made by Alderman McClanathan, seconded by Alderman Ross to move ordinance 2020-82 onto the next regular scheduled meeting with a few variations to be proposed.
Just to clarify, I will make a motion to move it forward to the next meeting because I guess I didn't formally. But at the next meeting, I'd like to see not just just an option, but specifically a provision waiving the fee if it coincides with the dollar thresholds and exemptions found in the minor repair section. Which means obviously those HVACs, mechanical things like that nature. That's not applicable. What, I just want to line up those two sections. That would be the motion, to move it forward under those grounds.
Okay, I thought that's what you had done the first time, but now that there's the clarity there, Alderman Ross, will you second that
Second.
as well? Okay. Is there any further discussion, council? Okay, Manager Bucus, do you have clarity on that?
I believe so. If I don't, I'll get ahold of with the alderman.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 11, which is the adoption of Resolution 2020-76. Could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing the acquisition of real property at 11 West Stevenson Street.
Thank you, Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. 11 West Stevenson Street is also known as the Hairway Building, and it has been condemned. And we've been talking to the property owner about deeding this property over to us so that we can go through a demolition process. The city will be taking a financial liability by accepting this building, but in the long run, it'd be better for the city to have control of this property and address the various safety concerns that there are. There is no dollar cost to the city as far as purchasing this property. It will be just a quick claim deeded to the city. That's it.
Questions, council?
Madam Mayor?
Actually, Alderman Parker.
Make a motion to approve.
Alderman Parker made a motion to approve Resolution 2020-76.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Alderman Brashaw. So we have a motion made by Parker, seconded by Brashaw. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Meissick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 12 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-77. Could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing the acquisition of real property at 15 West Stevenson Street.
Thank you, Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. 15 West Stevenson is in the same situation as the property at 11 West Stevenson Street. The property has been condemned. We are being asked to take over the property. We will have a financial liability by accepting this building. But again, in the long run, it'd be better for the city to have control of this property so we could address the safety concerns that are associated with this building. And it's my recommendation that the council accept the property at 15 West Stevenson Street.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman.
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion made by Alderman Borneman, seconded by Alderman Parker for Resolution 2020-77. Unless there's any further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
McClanathan?
I think that was an aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Meissick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 13 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-78. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving final plat of Kubley's Crest subdivision.
Thank you. Director Hines?
Thank you. This is in addition to the vacation of Gable Street that we reviewed earlier and council approved. So Michelle and Travis Kubley, they're the owners of 1147 West Beach Avenue. They put in a request to subdivide their property into 5 separate lots. 1147 West Beach is currently zoned M1 light manufacturing, and the subdividing the lots would follow the existing zoning use. The lots don't require any new water, sewer, utility hookups. Each parcel has a structure on it already for each proposed parcel. So there are 4 single-family homes each of them are rental properties, built between 1940 and 1950s. And then the last, there's another lot, 619 North Turner Avenue, that's a storage and warehouse facility for the Kubleys business, TNT Upfitters. So the Kubleys, they have a contract for sale as owner occupied for the property address 1147 West Beach Street right now, and they plan to sell that given the approval of the subdivision. Their goal is to sell each of these parcels if the subdivide is approved, and they plan to sell them as single-family homes, as owner-occupied, or to an investor to keep a single-family rental. In addition to the subdivisions, as I said earlier, the Kubleys proposed a vacation of Cable Street that would add the 30 feet by 100 feet of land just south of the parcel. And staff has no concerns with this proposed subdivision and recommends the approval of the preliminary and final plat for the subdivision of this parcel. And the Planning Commission made a recommendation to approve the preliminary and final plats for the Kubley Crest subdivision on the condition that the vacation of Cable Street was approved. So I can, in addition to that, we didn't have any objections or public comments at the Planning Commission public hearing. There was, we had a phone call, someone had called asking about the subdivision, but once I explained what was happening, they had absolutely no concerns, and someone stopped in to see the plans too before the public hearing, and once they saw it, again, they didn't have any concerns. So I can take any questions that you have now.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Director Hines, am I to understand that this was originally just one plat, that the 4 houses and the storage building were built on as the address of the 1147 West Beach?
Yes, that is correct. And they each had their own address, as it's listed in the memo. But they were all built, all these buildings were built on the one large parcel.
May I continue, Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Director Hines, will the people that currently own it, the Kubleys, I believe you said, will they be paying a surveyor to survey each and every plot to make sure that they will each have their own identification, not only address but PIN number?
Yes, they had to do that as part of the subdivision process. So they have legal descriptions and PINs for each property.
That sounds good. One more question is, the storage building, is that legal to have that zoned separately? I guess I shouldn't say legal. Is it normal to have that zoned separately as business or manufacturing, and then the other 4 separated and zoned residential?
So this whole parcel is actually zoned M1 light manufacturing, and so the storage and warehousing building that's permitted based on the use. We're at this time we're not going to change the zoning with the subdivision, but we would like to at some point do a larger rezone of properties like this where they're legal non-conforming.
Okay, that sounds good. That answers all my questions. Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve. Well, I guess I should wait until the other council members give a little bit of their voice on this. If no one has anything to say, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
And is there a second?
Second that.
All right, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by, was that Berberet?
Yes.
Thank you. And if there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you take the passage on the adoption of Resolution 2020-78?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberet.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 14 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-79. Could you please read this for the record?
Resolution of the City of Freeport authorizing the city to approve an agreement between the city and the sergeants.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. City Council had previously entered an agreement with the city sergeants on certain personnel benefits. These benefits were to mirror the benefits of the other police union, the BPPA, and what they have in their contract. In reviewing some of the year-end requirements in the BPPA contract, it was found that the sergeant's agreement did not contain a provision on vacations and compensation time. What we're proposing is that the new maximum accumulation of vacation hours be 213.75 hours, and that is the same amount that the PPPA members receive. Both the PPBA members and the sergeants work 12-hour shifts, and that's why they're at 213.75 hours. And it's a staff's recommendation that council approve the modified agreement.
Alderman Parker.
Your Honor, this is only fair, and it should have been done a long time ago, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Ross. Is there any discussion, council? Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the adoption of Resolution 2020-79?
McClanathan. Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Meissick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 15 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-80. Could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing and approving laboratory testing services with the University of Illinois Chicago campus.
Thank you. Chief Summers?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the legalization of cannabis has come about, it's just not enough for the police department to provide proof that THC is present in the blood in regard to DUI testing. The only place that we are able to find a lab that will test to the appropriate levels of the THC is the University of Illinois Chicago. We've used them in the past. This is just a contract stating that when we need to use this, there's a contractual basis for the pricing that goes along with it. There's no price up front, only per service that we need to do. So we need to have this contract in place if something were to come up where we would need to have that service for the analysis of blood or urine and the determining the THC level of the blood or urine.
Questions, council? Alderman Parker?
Would that be transported in by an officer into the University of Chicago, or it goes by mail or UPS, or?
It would be handled that in the same manner as we handle other evidence like that. I can't say for sure if we are allowed to mail this in with the proper seals and everything on it, but if not, we would be transporting it into the lab.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Chief, is there any lab that's closer than UIC to do this type of testing?
No,
Was that a negative?
correct, negative. The only lab that's close to us is the state crime lab in Rockford, but they do not have the capabilities to test that specific level at this time.
Thank you, Chief. With that said, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Parker. Unless there's any other discussion?
Mayor, I did have a question.
Yes, Alderman Borneman.
Thank you. Chief, I know in the memo it mentioned that this service will be used in cases where there's an accident involving injury or death. Is that right?
Correct, it'd only be used on a limited basis in determining that level.
Is it something that we could use in other cases? Or is this contract only for those cases?
We could use it in other cases, however, the price of that could outweigh the other factors that go along with that.
All right, so I guess just to clarify, like, is this a service that would still be available even if it's not included in the contract, or is this contract only for that service when it has that type of accident or crash?
No, the contract isn't specifically for crashes. It's for any testing. However, it could get awful expensive to test every time we suspect something of happening like that. So we would have to use discretion on when we're doing that and how does it fall in our budgetary constraints.
Absolutely. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll in the adoption of Resolution 2020-80?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Misick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 16 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-81. Could you please read this?
Resolution approving Midwest Illinois Air Show at Alberta's Airport on September 18th, 2021.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mark Menino of SRA Productions has proposed to conduct an old-fashioned barnstorming air show at the city's airport. Mr. Marino is hiring Daisy Air Shows for the management and acts for the air show, and the air show is scheduled to take place on Saturday, September 18, 2021. City staff and the city's committee of the whole has met with Mr. Menino on several occasions regarding the air show. Various issues have been discussed, including liability insurance, parking, crowd control, etc. He needs city council approval to continue with his organizing of the air show. Staff recommends that the city council approve the special use permit to utilize Alberta's airport contingent upon the coronavirus restrictions do not prohibit such activity. And staff further recommends that the city council allow staff to continue to work out the details of Mr. Menino on the logistics and planning of this air show.
Mayor.
Alderman Borneman.
Thank you. Manager Bucus, have we figured out what the additional rate will be from our insurance provider to have air shows at the airport?
No, they have not gotten back to me on that yet. They're looking to see whether our current carrier, Old Republic, will be willing to waive the exemption on air shows. So that's being looked into. And as Mr. Menino stated in the past, if there's any additional cost to the city, he'd be picking up that additional cost.
Follow up, Mayor?
Sure.
Manager Bucus, do you have any idea of what this additional cost might be?
I have no idea.
I have absolutely no idea. Is it an extra $100? Is it an extra $10,000? Do you have any experience?
All I could tell you is that the current city policy for the airport covers $5 million, and our policy costs us just over I think it's $5,100 a year.
So you don't have any ballpark or estimate of what an increase would look like?
I have no idea.
Madam Mayor.
So this could actually be approved tonight with maybe a contingency in place for certificate of insurance?
Well, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
I think he needs to know from council whether we're going to allow him to proceed or not. And in order to do that, so he could get his other numbers together, work on planning in that. An air show is not something that you could just put together overnight. It does take many months of planning. I was involved in one many years ago, back in the 80s, and it was very time consuming. And so all these factors will play in, but he needs some kind of, approval or disapproval tonight so that he can continue with his planning. The insurance is just, just part of it. If it comes out that insurance is prohibitive, once we find out, then it ends. But, we have to give him either a yes or no that we're willing to work with him on this project.
Mayor?
Alderman Ross?
Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt resolution, R 2020-80. No, correction, 2020-81.
Second.
Anyone?
Subject to those contingencies.
Yeah, subject to, that is correct,
Yep.
for the certificate of insurance.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Parker. Is there further discussion, council?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman McClanathan?
thank you. I heard the responses regarding how we don't know how it's going to impact our insurance. I did notice on the special permit application, paragraph 8, insurance for him, where it says certificate of insurance is attached, that was not checked. Has he provided us documentation along those lines?
Mayor,
I think we're still trying to figure out how much insurance we want him to have. I think we've asked him for $5 million based on our conversations with our insurance broker. And so that's, again, one of the details we're still working out.
Follow-up,
Go ahead.
Mayor. Thank you. So if we go down this route where we're moving forward on the air show and the cost comes to be something that Mr. Menino, the city's cost, he can't cover, that's it, there's no air show. I'm just, I guess I'm curious about how legally binding I'll pledge to cover cost is when we don't know what they could be. If that makes sense.
well, I think that's why this motion to approve the permit is contingent, and that was one of the things I was gonna ask Alderman Ross to clarify in his motion was, one, we know that insurance is an issue, so that we know that that's an issue that it would be contingent upon the issuance of the permit. Two, I think Manager Bucus referenced a contingency for COVID in the event that something changes, at the time of the event where we're just flat out prohibited from having an event like this, that's a contingency as well there. But then, trying to think if there was anything else, as well as then just the, as you mentioned, Alderman Borneman, a contingent of any insurance cost that the city may incur in its policy costs because of the nature of the air show. So those would be 3 contingencies to the approval of this, and if none of those are met, then ultimately the permit gets denied, revoked, or becomes ineffectual at that point because it has any one of those contingencies has not been met.
Did everybody else understand that?
95% of it. Yeah, not very well.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. I just want Aaron Azzetto to understand that it's very difficult to make out what he's saying. It's all muffled.
Sorry, I'll try it without the mask on. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to clarify, or at least have Alderman Ross clarify his motion to include the contingencies that have been referenced there. And I think the council would want to make the approval of the permit contingent upon, 1, Mr. Menino providing proof of insurance, so that certificate of insurance that Alderman McClanathan was mentioning. 2, I think the approval should be contingent upon Mr. Menino agreeing to pay any increased insurance costs that the city may incur if we have to increase our policy limits to allow for an air show. And then 3, the contingency that was referenced by Manager Bucus, that in the event that COVID causes us to not be able to have an event like this, then obviously there is no permit that's issued in the event that happens.
Alderman Ross, would you like your motion to reflect what Attorney Zito said?
That is correct, all three of them.
Alderman Parker?
Yes.
Any further discussion, council? Then, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll on the adoption of Resolution 2020-81?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. And thank you for all your work you're putting into this. Item number 17 is the adoption of Resolution 2020-82. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Resolution authorizing and approving first amendments to lease option agreements regarding the installation of solar facilities at landfill with Freeport Solar South and Freeport Solar North.
Thank you. Director Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. In December of 2017, the city granted a lease option to Terra Navigator for land that encompasses the landfill. The purpose of this lease was to have the right to install solar facilities. The project was separated into Freeport Solar South LLC and Freeport Solar North LLC. Since the initial option lease, Terra Navigator has assigned their rights to Amoresco. The amount of the option, the current option, expires on December 17, 2020. Amoresco, that is Freeport Solar South LLC and Freeport Solar North LLC, wish to extend the option for another 3 years under the same terms and conditions. Freeport Solar South LLC and Freeport Solar North LLC will pay the city $2,200 per year each during the 3-year option. The completion of this project will depend on the developer receiving solar tax credits from the state. It's staff's recommendation that the City Council approve the option for an additional 3 years.
Manager Bucus, how was that dollar amount arrived?
It's, I believe, $220 per acre. It's, wait a second.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Director Bucus, in the past, have they had any problems receiving their solar tax credits?
Well, the original proposal was to have it done in 2019 or 2020, but the state gave out their solar credits, and they were not one of them that received the credits. And there's another group of credits that's being, I guess, auctioned off or lottery. I guess it's basically a lottery that they've just pulled a name out of a hat because they have so many people applying for it. So there's another round coming up sometime in the near future. I don't think the dates have been set yet. And that's why we're giving them another, they're asking for another 3-year option.
Thank you for that explanation, sir.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman?
Manager Bucus, does this tenant have any interest in taking over all obligations from the landfill?
I can only wish, no. They will be responsible for maintaining the landfill and a portion that they will be utilizing. And that's
Okay,
basically means grass cutting.
We'll make a motion to move this, or to adopt this resolution, which I believe it is.
We have a motion made by Alderman Borneman, seconded by Alderman Parker for the adoption of Resolution 2020-82. Unless there's any further discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
McClanathan.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Brashaw.
Aye.
Mysick.
Aye.
Berberay.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 18 is, actually, if you want to go ahead and read that, that would be fine.
Motion to approve bid, which had a bid opening on December 8th, 2020, for the demolition of 11 to 15 West Stevenson Street to Fisher Excavating.
Manager Bucus?
Thank you, Your Honor. On December 8th, 2020, bids were opened for the demolition of 11 West Stevenson Street and 15 West Stevenson Street, properties that we currently talked about. This bid also included the shoring up of the Jet Beauty building, which has a common wall with the 111 West Stevenson Street building. The city received 9 bids. The low bidder was Dorr and Associates out of Michigan, and they realized that they made a mistake in their bid and withdrew it within the 24 hours of the bid opening. Because the demolition of these buildings will have a potential impact on the Jet Beauty building, we asked in the bid document how many days the Jet Beauty building may have to be closed for safety reasons or for shoring up their wall. The second low bidder was Flower, F-O-W-L-E-R, Flower Enterprises, and their bid was $561,700. They required the Jet Beauty shop to be closed for 21 days while demolition was taking place. The third low bidder was Fisher Excavating with a bid of $596,524, or $34,824 more than the Fowler bid. They did not require the Jet Beauty shop to be closed during demolition. Fisher's demolition cost, that would be the item 2 in the bid tabulation sheet, was also lowest at $174,000. So $174,000 for the $596,000 bid was actually the demolition cost. The west wall of the Jet Beauty is a shared wall with the Hairway building. Fisher's bid for the protection and preservation of the wall is $397,424, which is item 3 on the bid tabulation sheet that you received. This is the main factor in what's driving up the cost on the project. Our engineers feel that they may have a few ideas of how to reduce that cost, and once we have awarded the contract, which the recommendation will be with Fisher, that we see if we can't do some value engineering on that building as well. The bid package requires that the 2 buildings be demolished and cleared by February 14th, 2021, and the restoration of the site be completed by April 14th, 2021. Staff is recommending that the City Council award the bid to Fisher Excavating since they do not have to shut down the Jet Beauty shop to complete their work in the amount of $596,524.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Manager Bucus, I see under your financial status part of the report, the city budgeted $275,000 in the fiscal year 2021 budget from Fund 21, the Downtown Loan Program. I realize the city has substantial funds in that account, but is this entire demolition amount coming from that account alone, sir?
That is correct, and by the time we're done with this project and paying off another loan out of this project, we'll be down to, we'll basically be zeroing out this account within the next 2 years.
Madam Mayor? Continue.
Alderman Brashaw?
Thank you. Manager Bucus, in their bid amount, do they have a cushion? I mean, in case their costs go over, they must stay within the bid, obviously, but hopefully they put some cushion in that as well.
Well, that would be up to them. I mean, we don't know if they put cushion in there or not. We're hoping that through some value engineering, we might be able to lower the cost on shoring up the Jet Beauty building.
That's what I'm concerned about, is the shoring up and making sure it's done properly this time.
Yes,
Not that this, I'm sorry.
Basically, the bid package that we had, if you look at the wall that we put up when we tore down Old City Hall, that would be basically the wall that we're proposing for this building. So it'll be something similar. There again, depending on the condition of the wall, We may be able to get by with just some tuck pointing, we're not sure. We won't know until actually the wall's down, but it will have to be waterproof somehow, and that's a major concern we have.
Manager Bucus, was that in the specs that they do that final repair, or do we help them with that?
The final repair, you mean on the wall?
Yes, sir.
On the Jet Beauty wall? No, that's part of their bid. That's part of their bid package.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that would be, if you look at the bid tabulation sheet, it would be item number 3.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Borneman?
thank you. Manager Bucus, I understand that you're not recommending the lowest bidder. Is there any special procedure we need to take to justify not selecting the lowest bidder for services like this?
Well, as part, and I'll let the attorney follow up with my comments, but in the bid package, we did require them to tell us how many days that they think that the Jet Beauty shop would have to be closed. And when you think about it, if you're going to close somebody down, you're going to have to compensate them somehow. So that's going to add an additional cost, and I'm sure that additional cost, if we close them down for 21 days, is going to be more than $30,000. So that's one reason why I'm recommending that we go with the third low bidder.
Okay. Attorney Zito, did you have anything to add to that?
I would agree with Manager Bucus on that while, yes, typically when you go out to bids, you do look for the lowest responsible bidder. The key term is responsible bidder, and that allows the city to take into consideration other factors such as the quality of work that a particular contractor does and other extraneous circumstances such as, in this case, how long they would need to cause the business to be closed. So price does not have to be is not the only consideration.
Thank you. With that being said, Mayor, I'd make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Or I guess to accept this bid. We're not at resolutions right now.
I know what you meant, thanks. So we have a motion made by Alderman Borneman, seconded by Alderman Ross, to approve the bid as stated. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Who was the second on that?
Ross?
McClanathan? Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Mysick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The bid is approved 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 19 is another motion for an approved bid. Madam Clerk, could you please read this?
Bid for a bid opening on December 8th, 2020, elevator preventative maintenance repair services at City Hall to Schindler Elevator Corp.
Thank you. Manager Bucus?
I think that bid date was copied and pasted. One of them is wrong. This was bid on December 15th. My apologies.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our elevator preservation and maintenance and repair contract expires in February 2021. The existing contract was for 3 years with an option to renew, but in order to test the market, we went out for bids at this time. And on December 15, 2020, bids were open, and we received 3 bids. There was also 2 options within the bid specifications. Option 1 covered 2 preventative maintenance visits per year, plus a technician on site for the annual elevator inspection certificate. That included with the fire marshal's office. It also covers maintenance along with parts and labor for most of the non-major repairs. And option 2 did not include any repair or replacement parts or labor. In our 3rd year of our current contract, we paid just over $1,900 for the annual service. And the first year of the new contract, it's going to increase by $7.20. The low bidder, or the overall low bidder, was Schindler Elevator. They have our current contract, and they were the original installers of our elevator. And it's staff's recommendation that City Council approve the contract with Schindler for 3 years with option 1.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Brashaw?
thank you. Manager Bucus, have we had any repairs to the elevator at all?
Yes, there was some type of modular that was just replaced this fall, I believe, and it did not cost the city any money, but it was a major repair that we had to do. And that's really the only one I'm aware of. They come in, they check it every twice a year and stuff, so. That's the only big one I had. And I don't really recall what it, I think it had to do with the phone. I don't recall.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval of the Schindler bid for option 1, which would include the preventative maintenance visits and the annual elevator inspection certification, et cetera. It also covers the maintenance along with parts and labor for most non-major repairs.
Was there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Brashaw, seconded by Alderman Ross for the approval of the bid. Was there further discussion, council? Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
McClanathan? Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Mysick?
Aye.
Berberay?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
And the bid is approved 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to department heads. Finance.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Community development.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a reminder that we're currently taking in notice of voluntary interest forms for FEMA flood mitigation grants for our acquisition and demolition projects. We're getting closer and closer to the deadline to submitting these applications, and so I just wanted to give the reminder that submitting these notice of voluntary interest forms doesn't require you to sell your property at all. It doesn't require you to participate in the program if we get the award, but it gives you the opportunity to see what you could get as an offer from these grant programs if we are awarded the grant. And then you can get the notice of voluntary interest forms from the Office of Community Development. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Manager Bucus, was there anything that Public Works had wanted to convey?
No, they have nothing for tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Fire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing to report to you this evening, just wishing everyone a happy and safe holiday.
Thank you. Police.
No report tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
but I do want to thank the chief and his officers for catching the guys that did the criminal damage over at Taylor Park School. I mean, they left a pretty good trail, so, and I'm glad they got caught, because that's kind of ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. IT, did you have anything? No? Library?
I just want to second what Chief Liggett said and have a safe and happy holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Manager Bucus?
Thank you, Your Honor. This has been an interesting year, to say the least, and it's coming to a close, and I'd like to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and be safe out there. Thank you.
Yes, and I would say the same thing. I'm ready for this chapter to close and the next one to start. So I'd just like to say Merry Christmas, and may everyone have a safe and healthy New Year. Then that will leave us to council, which would be Alderman McClanathan.
Thank you. I just want to say Merry Christmas, wish a Happy New Year to everyone, and I want to thank all the departments from the top to the bottom for their work on this year. Challenging year, and I look forward to seeing where we go in the next year.
Thank you. Alderman Ross?
Yes, I just did what Alderman McClellan said. Happy
All right,
holidays.
thank you. Alderman Parker?
Same thing. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bradshaw?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and 2020 has been a very wild year. Very interesting. It's probably something that none of us will ever forget, and I've enjoyed working with all of you. You've gone above and beyond, in my opinion, especially you, Madam Mayor and Manager Bucus. I want to thank you for all your hard work. Anyhow, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Alderman Bradshaw. Alderman Misick?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree. This has been a year with many challenges, and it's been very wonderful to see the responses of how the city has come together, and I truly do appreciate your leadership, Madam Mayor, and Manager Bucus, and all the council members who've put in so much time, all the department heads working through all the challenges of balancing a budget and so forth with these challenges is a very great feat, and I appreciate the teamwork to get us there. Do want to mention as well, Merry Christmas to everyone, Happy New Year, and just to encourage you to look for creative ways to show your love with all of your loved ones this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Berberet?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to again thank the team at City Hall and you, the Mayor, and Manager Bucus for getting a lot done during a very difficult year. One of the things I have observed is that the spirit and the level of communication through the newsletter and through your columns, Madam Mayor, are really telling the story, and I think we need to continue that. And I would also wish everyone Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Alderman Borneman?
I just want to wish you and everyone listening and the members of council a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and Happy New Year as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to item number 24, which is public comments. Are there any public comments this evening?
Did not receive anything.
Okay, then we will move on to item number 26, which is adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Parker. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
McClanathan?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Brashaw?
Aye.
Misick?
Aye.
Berberet?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening.